In a city where glass towers pierced the clouds and people moved fast enough to forget their own hearts, life had learned to test the quiet souls the hardest. Ethan Cole, once a man with dreams bigger than the skyline, now stood outside a corporate building holding a worn-out folder, his shirt collar slightly frayed, his shoes tired, and hope hanging by a thread. He wasn't here for a promotion, he wasn't here chasing ambition, he was here applying for a janitor job. A job most ignored. But for him, it meant survival, security, food on the table, and medicine for the tiny little girl waiting at home, the girl whose small laugh was the only thing strong enough to pull light through his darkest nights. His daughter, Ava. Single father. Fiercely loving. Terrified of failing her. And on his wrist, still taped and slightly faded, was a white hospital band with a printed code that held more pain than any man should ever carry, A3497. The doors hissed open as he stepped inside, clutching his resume against his chest. The lobby buzzed with polished shoes and confident voices, the kind of place where titles mattered and appearances danced louder than humanity. Ethan felt out of place, but he stood tall, because fathers don't bend when their children need them. Janitorial applicant? A receptionist asked without looking at him. Yes, he whispered. She pointed him toward a hallway, almost dismissively, but he nodded with gratitude anyway. Humility had carved itself into his bones long ago. As he sat in the waiting area, surrounded by clean walls and fluorescent lights, Ethan thought of Ava, hospital bed, oxygen tubes, tiny fingers gripping his hand, smile brave enough to melt his fear. "Daddy, are you coming back soon?" "Always," he had whispered, kissing her forehead. "I just need to get this job, sweetheart. Then pea pancakes every morning again." He held her pink backpack in one hand that night, humming her favorite lullaby until she slept. Then he stayed awake praying to a God he wasn't even sure listened anymore. A3497, a pediatric oncology code. Not everyone knew it. But those who did, never forgot it. The door opened. "Ethan Cole?" He stood. "Right this way." The HR office was bright, modern, cold. Two women sat inside. One typed quickly, the other looked up with polite professionalism, the practiced smile of corporate courtesy. "You're here for the janitorial position?" "Yes, ma'am." His voice was steady, respectful. He handed over his resume, one page, simple, honest. She skimmed it. Former warehouse worker. Temporary construction aide. Volunteer at a children's center years ago. Then a 4-year gap. She raised an eyebrow. "You haven't worked recently." "I've been taking care of my daughter." The room softened for a second, then tightened again. Professionalism always wins over empathy in offices like this. "We require background checks and consistent availability. Cleaning schedules can run late nights." "I can do nights," he replied quickly, almost too quickly. She nodded, typing again. Then she glanced up, and froze. Ethan didn't notice immediately. He was too focused on staying composed, answering questions politely, rehearsing in his head, "I can mop floors. I can clean windows. I can take anything life gives me, as long as she's safe." But the HR woman, her eyes were fixed. On his wrist. On the white band peeking from under his sleeve. "Sir," she whispered, voice unusually small. "Is that a hospital ID?" Ethan's heart lurched. "It's old, I forgot to take it off." She leaned forward slowly, eyes widening as she read the numbers. A3497, silence collapsed like a wave inside the room. Her assistant stopped typing. The hum of the office air system echoed. Ethan felt exposed, fragile. "It's my daughter," he said softly. "She's still in the hospital." The HR woman swallowed hard. She knew. Either she had a child, or she'd seen that code before. "Cancer," she whispered. Ethan nodded. Pain tightened his chest. Fathers are supposed to be strong, but grief, fear, and love are a vicious trio. They crush even the strongest men. "She's all I have," he murmured. "I don't need much. I need to work. For her medication, for transport, for hope. I'll clean floors, scrub walls, work any shift. I'll do anything." His voice cracked. He hated it. Men are taught not to break. But when life breaks you, even pride becomes a luxury. The HR assistant's eyes filled. "Do you have support?" "It's just me and her." He tried to smile. It trembled. "She says I'm her superhero." He laughed softly, bitterly. "But superheroes don't panic about grocery bills." The main HR woman put down her pen. "Ethan," she whispered. "No child should go through A3497. He blinked. She knew it. She really knew it. "My brother, he had that code," she murmured. "When I was 9. Her voice broke. "We lost him." Ethan lowered his head. "I'm so sorry." She wiped her eyes, breathing unsteady. I don't get shaken easily." But you walking in here with that, it hits hard. Silence again. Heavy. Thick. Then she stood suddenly, walked out. Ethan's pulse raced. Was she rejecting him? Did he say too much? Did he look weak? The assistant smiled weakly, whispering, "Hold on." After several tense minutes, the HR manager returned, followed by a suited executive. Ethan panicked inside. CEOs don't walk into janitor interviews. The executive looked at him like someone seeing a human story instead of a resume. "Mr. Cole," he said quietly, "we won't ask you to scrub floors." Ethan froze. "Sir?" The executive sat across from him. "You came here because you're desperate to take care of your daughter. That tells me more about your character than any degree ever could." The HR woman nodded, still wiping tears. "We want you here, not as a janitor. As a staff support coordinator. Desk role. Full medical benefits. Flexible hours for hospital visits." Ethan couldn't breathe. He stared at them like they were speaking another language. "Why?" The executive leaned forward. "Because real strength isn't in titles or money. It's in parents who refuse to quit." Ethan's throat closed. His hands shook. "Thank you," he whispered, voice breaking. "You don't know what this means." "We do," the HR woman whispered. "More than you think." Ethan walked out of that building in a daze, holding paperwork he never expected: offer letter, health benefits, schedule flexibility. For the first time in a long time, hope didn't feel like a lie. Outside, he looked up at the sky and whispered, "Ava, Daddy's coming back. With good news." His phone buzzed. A photo from the nurse, Ava holding her tiny teddy bear, smiling, oxygen tube in her nose, thumbs up. "Win today, Daddy?" He pressed the phone to his heart. "We did, baby. We really did." But life has a way of testing miracles. And while this was a beginning, storms were still waiting. Because Ava's second diagnosis was coming. And with it, a truth that would shake Ethan's world again. The night after Ethan was offered the job, the world felt different, softer, warmer, almost forgiving. He walked into the hospital with tired shoes but a hopeful heart, carrying a paper bag filled with Ava's favorite snacks, strawberry pudding cups and animal crackers. He pushed open the door to her room, and the sight of her tiny hands, her oxygen tubes, her little pink blanket covered in cartoon stars, it all hit him harder than ever. She looked up, eyes sparkling despite the fatigue only a child fighting too hard too young could carry. "Daddy. You came back fast." He knelt beside her, brushing her hair gently. "I did, princess. And guess what?" Her smile lit up the room. "You got the job?" He laughed softly through a tight throat. "Better. I got a good job, with doctors, and medicine, and time to stay with you." Ava clapped her small hands weakly. "I told you. Heroes don't quit." Ethan felt his heart swell and crack at the same time. "No, my love," he whispered. "Heroes don't quit." He stayed by her side all night, hand in hers, humming the lullaby she loved, the same lullaby her mother used to hum before life tore everything apart. A mother who never got to see this moment. A tear slipped down Ethan's cheek as he whispered to the sky, "Please let her stay. I don't ask for anything else." Morning came too soon. Nurses smiled at him differently, respect replacing sympathy now that they saw strength instead of just struggle. But just as life gives light, it tests it. A doctor walked in, serious face, clipboard hugged to his chest. Ethan's stomach twisted. Doctors don't hold clipboards gently unless the news isn't gentle. "Mr. Cole," he began quietly, "we need to talk." The words that followed felt like knives disguised as syllables. The cancer cells spread to her bone marrow. "We need to move to aggressive treatment, immediately." The world dimmed. Floors disappeared. Air thickened. Is she still?" Ethan couldn't finish. "We aren't giving up," the doctor said quickly. "But time matters." When he turned to look at Ava, she was staring at him, too wise, too calm, too brave for a child. "Daddy," she whispered, "I'm not scared." And that destroyed him. Children shouldn't comfort adults. He leaned close, pressing his forehead to hers. "You don't have to be brave all the time, baby. Daddy's here. Daddy's always here." She nodded slowly. "I know. Because I wished for it." A chill ran through him. "What do you mean?" Ava blinked softly, like she was remembering something secret and sacred. "When Mommy left, I made wishes to the angels." His heart clenched hard. "What did you wish, sweetheart?" "I wished for Mommy to not feel pain. I wished for you to smile again. And I wished," her voice trembled, "for us to stay together forever." Ethan's chest burned. Forever. A word children say without knowing how heavy eternity really is. He held her hand tighter, as if love alone could chain her soul to earth. "We will be together," he whispered fiercely. "In this life, not the next one. I'm not letting go of you. Ever." The following weeks blurred into a storm of hospital hallways, for drips, whispered prayers, cafeteria coffee, and exhausted tears on bathroom tiles. Ethan worked when he could, the company making sure he never had to choose between paycheck and daughter. The HR woman visited once with stuffed toys, her eyes soft but red, the kind of compassion only grief teaches. The CEO sent meals and support quietly, almost reverently, as if Ethan's battle reminded him what success truly meant. Even nurses whispered about the warrior dad in room 406. But none of it, no sympathy, no support, no kindness, could silence the fear. The kind that wakes you up at 3 a.m. shaking. The kind that comes when machines beep too fast, when children cry in pain, when life seems cruel enough to test the gentle ones the hardest. One night, Ava woke up gasping, chest tight, hands trembling. Ethan panicked, calling nurses, voice cracking like a man begging destiny itself. Doctors rushed in. Machines hummed. Oxygen increased. A nurse held Ethan back gently. "She's strong," she whispered. "Let them work." Ethan shook, fists tight, whispering to the floor, "Take everything from me, but not her." Minutes crawled like years. Then, her breathing steadied. The doctor exhaled. "She's fighting hard. She's not done yet." Ethan kissed Ava's forehead, tears falling freely. "Rest, my angel. I'm here." Her little hand curled around his finger. "Daddy, don't cry. We're winning." Even in pain, she believed in miracles. Days later, a miracle actually came, a donor match for a bone marrow transplant. The doctor walked in smiling, and Ethan collapsed to his knees in relief. Ava called it angel magic. The procedure was scheduled. Ethan paced the hallway endlessly during surgery, heart hammering like it was trying to pray its way out of prison. Hours later, the surgeon emerged, tired but smiling. "It worked. She has a chance." Ethan broke, sobbing, laughing, shaking, collapsing into a chair like his bones forgot how to hold hope. Nurses clapped. The HR woman came and hugged him. Even the CEO texted, "Heroes come in overalls too. Proud of you." Recovery was slow, full of fear and quiet courage. But day by day, color returned to Ava's cheeks. One morning, she sat up and whispered, "Daddy, can we have pancakes now?" Ethan laughed, louder than he had in years. "Pancakes every morning for the rest of our lives." She grinned. "Yay!" Weeks later, she walked out of the hospital holding his hand, weak, thin, but alive. Alive. A 3497 was still on her wrist, but now it meant survivor, not statistic. Ethan lifted her into the sunlight like she was a crown the world needed to see. The HR manager and CEO stood outside, clapping as she left, a quiet honor guard for a tiny warrior. People passing by stopped, sensing something sacred in this small victory. Ethan didn't care who watched, he knelt, hugging Ava tightly, whispering, "We did it." "No, Daddy," she whispered back, touching his cheek. "We never gave up." Months passed. Ethan kept his job, later promoted for his heart and leadership. He started a small foundation to help single parents of sick children, funded by corporate support and love from strangers who heard their story. Ava returned to school, hair growing back, eyes brighter than morning sun, backpack bouncing as she skipped. Sometimes she still got tired, sometimes she still held her daddy's hand a little tighter, but she lived. And that was everything. One evening, they sat watching the sunset, Ava leaning against him. "Daddy?" "Yes, baby? When I grow up, I want to help people who are fighting like us." Ethan smiled, tears warm and grateful. "You already are." She giggled. "Then I'll help more." He kissed her head. "And Daddy will be cheering louder than anyone." She looked up at him, wise and glowing. "We're superheroes, right? The strongest ones," he whispered. "The kind who fall, and get back up anyway." The city lights twinkled. Life hummed forward. Hope breathed. And somewhere deep in the quiet space between fear and faith, a father realized that love, fierce, stubborn, fighting with blood love, is stronger than fate. Stronger than fear. Stronger than a 3497. Because Ethan didn't just apply for a janitor job. He fought for a world where his daughter could grow, laugh, dream, live. And he won.